I eased the Sutton Apex into my parents' driveway, the metallic graphite paint gleaming under the afternoon sun. The engine was a low, satisfying purr that I felt more than heard, a vibration of pure accomplishment under my palms. I tapped my fingers on the leather-wrapped steering wheel and took a deep, long breath. The scent of new car plastic and treated leather was intoxicating. It was the smell of $36,000, paid in full, no loans, no financing, no debt. It was the smell of 4 years of relentless, agonizing sacrifice. We did it, I whispered to the empty passenger seat. 4 years of living in a cramped apartment with 3 roommates who cycled through loud music and dirty dishes. 4 years of declining every invitation for drinks, dinners, and weekend trips. 4 years of brown bag lunches, brewing my own coffee and tracking every single cent in a spreadsheet that became my nightly confessional. All of it had manifested in this. This gleaming testament to my discipline sitting right here. It was more than a car. It was my freedom. It was my proof. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. My moment of peace shattered. I squinted, my eyes locking on the obstacle in front of me. Lydia's faded blue sedan was parked crookedly, as always, taking up more than half of the 2-car driveway. I let out a sharp sigh. Typical. She couldn't be bothered to park with consideration for anyone else. It was her world, and the rest of us were just navigating around her mess. I had to crank the wheel hard, backing up and pulling forward twice to squeeze the apex past her bumper, my sensors screaming. I came within an inch of scraping the passenger side door against the low brick wall bordering my father's immaculate lawn. I finally got it parked, my knuckles white on the wheel. Even her absence was an imposition. I walked into the house, the familiar smell of Mom's pot roast heavy in the air. The scene was a painting I'd seen 1,000 times. Mom, Madeline, was arranging green beans in a serving bowl. Dad, David, was pouring iced tea. And Lorelei, my sister, was sprawled in the armchair, her legs dangling over the side, her face illuminated by the glow of her phone, completely oblivious. "There she is," Dad said, not looking up from the picture. "Saw the new ride. Finally." "It's nice, Brianna," Mom offered. She gave me a thin smile that didn't come close to reaching her eyes. Sensible. The word landed like a wet cloth. Sensible. That was me. Brianna the sensible. Brianna the reliable. Brianna the boring. "It's gorgeous, Mom," I corrected her, placing my purse on the counter. "It has 0 miles on it, or it did this morning." That got Lorelei's attention. Her head snapped up, her eyes sharp with an acquisitive gleam I knew all too well. "A Sutton Apex, huh? That's a serious upgrade. Do those have the new panoramic sunroof?" "And the full digital cockpit," I said, unable to help myself. The pride was still too new. "Nice," she said, sliding off the chair. She was already moving toward the counter where I'd just placed my purse. "I'm thinking of getting an SUV. Mind if I take it for a spin, just to see how it handles?" The request was so casual, so breezy, as if she were asking to borrow a pen, not a $36,000 piece of machinery that represented a significant portion of my life savings. "No, Lorelei," I said. The word came out clearer and firmer than I intended, cutting through the kitchen's warmth. Lorelei paused, her hand hovering over my purse. "What? Why not? I just want to go around the block." "The answer is no," I repeated, meeting her gaze. "You're not on my insurance, and I am not giving you permission to drive it. Period." Lorelei's easygoing expression hardened into something ugly. "God, you're always so uptight, Brianna. It's just a car." "It's my car," I said. And I said no. She laughed, a short, sharp sound devoid of humor. She picked up an apple from the fruit bowl and tossed it in her hand. "Whatever. You know I'll drive it eventually. You know me." The threat was naked, hanging in the air between us. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. She would wait until I was distracted, until I caved, until my no was worn down by her persistence. It was how she had always operated. All right, Mom cut in, clapping her hands. Let's not start. The food is getting cold. Lorelei, wash your hands. Brianna, come sit down. David, pour the wine. She was the family peacemaker, the one who smoothed over every conflict, which really meant she just silenced every complaint. She demanded peace at the expense of justice, and I was always the one expected to pay the price. We ate. The conversation was painfully normal. Dad talked about his golf game. Mom complained about the neighbors. Lorelei scrolled through her phone at the table, occasionally showing Mom a picture that made them both giggle. I felt a familiar tension in my shoulders. I had spent 4 years sacrificing for that car, and my own family couldn't even offer a genuine congratulations. They just saw it as another thing, another resource to be absorbed. Excuse me, I said, pushing my chair back. I just need to grab my jacket from my old room. It's a little chilly in here. I climbed the familiar stairs, running my hand along the banister. I lingered for a moment in the room that was now Dad's office, breathing in the scent of old books and dust. I just needed a second of quiet, a moment to rebuild the sense of pride Lorelei had tried to puncture. When I came back downstairs, I stopped at the bottom step. I glanced at the kitchen counter. My purse was there, but the small, empty space beside it screamed at me. My keys were gone. Where are my keys? My voice was unnaturally calm, but my heart had already started a frantic, painful hammering against my ribs. Mom and Dad exchanged that look, the one I'd seen 1,000 times, the silent, telepathic communication of two parents united against the difficult child. Mom, Dad, where are my keys? Now, Brianna, don't overreact, Mom said, wiping her hands on her apron. Lorelei just wanted to feel what it's like. You know how she is. She's just going around the block, Dad added, his tone already defensive, already positioning me as the unreasonable one. She'll be careful. She'll be right back. I explicitly said no, I said, my voice rising. I told her no. You were both standing right there. Oh, for heaven's sake, Dad snapped. It's your sister, not a stranger. What's the worst that can happen? Stop being so dramatic. I pulled my phone from my purse with trembling hands. I jabbed Lorelei's name on the screen. The call went straight to voicemail. Of course it did. She had turned her phone off. My stomach churned with a sickening cocktail of white-hot fury and icy dread. This wasn't about a car. It had never been about the car. It was about 30 years of boundaries being bulldozed, 30 years of my no being treated as a suggestion, 30 years of me being the family shock absorber, expected to quietly accept every disrespectful act for the sake of peace. My phone vibrated violently on the counter. An unknown number, Jackson County. My blood ran cold. I picked it up. Hello? Am I speaking with Ms. Brianna Marlowe? The voice was male, professional, and devoid of emotion. Yes, this is she. Ms. Marlowe, this is Officer Garrett Cole with the Jackson County Police. I'm calling about your vehicle, a 2025 Sutton Apex, license plate. He read the number back to me. It's been involved in a serious collision. The driver is uninjured. My knees buckled. I gripped the counter to stay upright. Where? Where is it? He gave me an address at a major intersection 3 miles away, near the mall, of course. She wasn't just going around the block. She was going to show off my car to her friends. I'm on my way, I said, and hung up. I grabbed my purse, ignoring the sudden, pale-faced, "What is it?" from my mother. I stormed out the door, ordering a rideshare with fingers that could barely type. The rideshare dropped me a block from the intersection, which was already lit up with the flashing red and blue of 2 police cruisers and an ambulance. I ran the last few yards, my breath catching in my throat. And then I saw it. My beautiful Apex, my 4 years of sacrifice. It was mangled, accordioned against a concrete traffic barrier. The entire front end was crumpled like a discarded piece of tinfoil. Both airbags were deployed, hanging from the dash and steering wheel like limp, deflated ghosts. The graphite paint, so perfect and gleaming just an hour ago, was now scraped, shattered, and dulled under a layer of dust and fluid. I felt the air punch out of my lungs. It was a total loss. I knew it instantly. My grief turned to pure, undiluted rage in a nanosecond. It wasn't the wreckage that sent me over the edge. It was the sight of Lorelei. She was leaning against the side of Officer Cole's cruiser, perfectly unharmed. Her phone was in her hand, held up at a high angle. She was giggling. Giggling. She was positioning herself for a selfie, pouting her lips with the destroyed $36,000 car, my car, framed perfectly in the background. I started walking toward her, my vision narrowing. I think I was shouting her name. Ms. Marlowe? A hand on my arm stopped me. I spun around to see Officer Cole, his face grim. Are you the registered owner? Yes, I bit out, unable to tear my eyes from the spectacle my sister was making. That's my car, and that is my sister, who stole it from my parents' house after I explicitly told her she could not drive it. He nodded slowly. That's consistent with what she told us. He gestured to his tablet. She's already posted this to her social media. He turned the screen toward me. It was Lorelei's Instagram, a pouty selfie, the wreck behind her. The caption, "Oops, big sis will forgive me. New car problems, demoir totaled, sorry not sorry." The timestamp was 4 minutes ago. The insurance adjuster's initial assessment just came in, Officer Cole continued, his voice a flat monotone in the chaos. Estimated damage is $41,600. The number hung in the air. $41,600. That was $5,600 more than I had paid for it just this morning. Given the vehicle's age, less than a day, and the extent of the damage to the frame and engine block, it's a guaranteed total loss, he said. She admitted it? I asked, my voice hollow. She admitted she didn't have permission. Yes, ma'am. She was very clear about that. Laughed about it, actually. Said you were just being uptight. In the state of Colorado, that's unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Don't you dare make this into a family crisis. It's just a car. Just a car. Just 4 years of my life. Just the symbol of my escape. A man in a crisp blue polo shirt with an insurance logo embroidered on it approached me, extending a hand. Ms. Marlowe? I'm Connor Brennan, your claims adjuster. I was dispatched as soon as the VIN was run. This is a terrible situation, especially with a brand new vehicle. He guided me a few steps away from the wreckage, his voice low and professional. Listen, I've already reviewed Officer Cole's preliminary report and, well, I saw your sister's social media post. He looked me straight in the eye. This is a clear case of unauthorized use. We have a few ways we can proceed. Because she's family, most people in your situation would just let it process as a standard collision claim. What does that mean? It means you'd pay your deductible, and your insurance rates would almost certainly skyrocket for the next 5 years. We'd pay out the loss, and that would be the end of it. And the other option? The other option, he said, is you tell the truth. You file a no permissive use affidavit. You formally state that she did not have your permission. She becomes the at-fault driver. Your policy is untouched, no deductible, no rate hike. We pay you for the total loss, and then our subrogation department pursues her personally for the full $41,600. Before I could process the 2 paths laid out in front of me, an older woman in a floral gardening apron hurried over. It was Mrs. Wallace, my parents' next-door neighbor. "Brianna, dear, I saw the flashing lights and came as fast as I could. I recognized the car. Oh, you poor thing, your brand new car." Her eyes darted to Lorelei, who was now arguing with a paramedic, and then back to me. "Brianna," she said, lowering her voice. "I was in my front yard watering my azaleas. I heard the whole thing. I heard you tell her, very clearly, 'No, you cannot drive my car.' I was right there." I stared at her. You heard that? Clear as a bell, she said, patting my arm. And then, not 5 minutes later, I saw her sneak back out of the house, looking over her shoulder. She got in your car and peeled out of the driveway. I almost called your mother. It was so reckless. An unexpected alliance. A witness. A moment later, my parents' SUV screeched to a halt in the emergency lane, parking haphazardly. They both jumped out and ran, not to me, not to the officer, not to the wreck of my car. They ran straight to Lorelei. Madeline enveloped her in a protective hug, stroking her hair, asking if she was okay, if she was hurt. David immediately strode over to Officer Cole and began demanding answers, his voice loud and indignant. After a hurried, tense conversation with the officer, Dad marched over to me. His face was flushed with anger. He grabbed my elbow, his grip painfully tight. "We need to talk," he hissed, pulling me away from Connor and Mrs. Wallace. "You need to fix this, right now." "Fix this?" I wrenched my arm from his grasp. "I didn't do this." "Don't be ridiculous," he snapped, his voice a low, furious whisper. "You need to tell the police and that insurance man that she had permission. You tell them you lent her the car. This is a family matter, and we will handle it internally." "That's a lie," I said, my voice shaking. "That would be insurance fraud, Dad." "It's a misunderstanding," he barked. "If you pursue this, her insurance will be ruined. She could lose her license. Her job does background checks. A judgment like this will destroy her future." Mom appeared at his side. Her eyes narrowed into slits of pure venom, all her worry for Lorelei now redirected at me, the real problem. "Is that what you want, Brianna?" she hissed. "Is that what this is about? Destroying your sister, all over a stupid, replaceable car?" Over my mother's shoulder, I saw Lorelei watching us. She was standing alone now, the paramedics and police finished with her. When she saw me looking, the faintest, most arrogant smirk played at the corners of her mouth. She mouthed the words, her expression dripping with contempt. "They'll make you forgive me, just like always. Just like the laptop she'd borrowed and broken. Just like the rent money she'd forgotten to pay back. Just like every sweater, every promise, every last shred of respect." "Ms. Marlowe?" Officer Cole was standing beside me, his tablet in hand. "I need to finalize this report for the insurance company. I need a formal yes or no. Did your sister, Lorelei Marlowe, have your permission to drive your vehicle today?" My parents' eyes burned into the side of my head. The weight of 30 years of keeping the peace pressed down on my shoulders, suffocating me. 30 years of being reasonable. 30 years of putting Lorelei's impulsive wants before my own basic needs. I straightened my spine. The weight on my shoulders didn't disappear, but I stood up under it. I looked directly at Officer Cole, my voice ringing out clear and steady, cutting through the noise of the traffic. "No, officer. She did not have permission. She took my keys from my parents' home after I explicitly told her no." I watched the shock register on my parents' faces, as if they were seeing me for the first time. Perhaps they were. The next day, the war began. My phone became a weapon used against me. I set it face down on my kitchen counter, but the vibrations were so constant it sounded like a trapped insect. I finally flipped it over. The family group text. 34 new messages. "Aunt Penelope, Brianna, your mother is beside herself. You need to call her and apologize. This is not how we raised you." Uncle Felix, "In my day, family stood by family no matter what. Blood is thicker than water. You're making a terrible mistake." Cousin, "Wow, be cold. It's just money. Lorelei is your sister." I silenced the group chat. The buzzing stopped. My landline rang, startling me. I only had it for my apartment's buzzer. I let it go to voicemail. A moment later, the machine beeped. "Brianna, it's Martha from reception. Honey, your father just called. He said there's a dire family emergency and you need to leave work immediately. I told him you were in a client meeting, but he was very intense. He said to tell you Lorelei was in the hospital. Call me back. I hope everything is okay." My blood boiled. The family emergency tactic. He knew I had a major client audit, and lying about the hospital? A new low. I gripped my coffee mug, my knuckles white. I called the front desk. "Martha, it's Brianna. There is no emergency. My father was lying. Please do not put his calls through to me again. I'm fine." "Oh," Martha's voice was filled with concern. "Oh dear. All right, Brianna, I'll run interference." I hung up and saw a new email notification. The subject line, "Prayer request for Brianna's soul, my mother." She had mobilized her entire church prayer group. I opened it. It was a long, sanctimonious plea, requesting urgent prayers for my daughter Brianna, who is suffering from a spiritual crisis. A hardened heart has led her to turn against her own sister in a time of need. Please pray that God softens her heart and leads her back to the path of Christian forgiveness and family. They were pulling every lever, the family, the office, the church. They were activating every agent in the machine designed to crush me back into compliance. A knock on my apartment door made me jump. I looked through the peephole. It was Mrs. Wallace, my parents' neighbor, looking uncomfortable. I opened the door. "Mrs. Wallace, is everything okay?" "Oh dear, yes, no, I'm so sorry to bother you at home, Brianna," she fussed, wringing her hands. "I've just been feeling so terrible about what happened. Your parents are... Well, they're telling everyone in the neighborhood that it was all a terrible misunderstanding and that you're punishing poor Lorelei for a simple mistake. She told me she's never been so humiliated," Mrs. Wallace continued, her face pinched in disapproval. "It made me so angry I went and checked my security system. I have a little camera over my garage, you see." She held out a small black USB drive. "It's all on here, dear, clear as day. The camera caught the audio from your driveway. You, clear as a bell, saying, 'No, you cannot drive it.' And then, 10 minutes later, it catches Lorelei sneaking out, looking around and driving off. The audio isn't great on that part, but the video is perfect." I took the drive from her, my hand trembling. "Mrs. Wallace, I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," she said, patting my arm. "Right is right and wrong is wrong. And what that girl did was wrong. You use this. Don't let them bully you. Irrefutable proof. Audio and video. The silver bullet." The next morning, I was in Connor Brennan's office. It was a small cubicle in a large beige office park, but it felt like a fortress. "You're sure about this, Brianna?" he asked, the official no permissive use affidavit on the desk between us. "Once you sign this, the machine starts. It's very, very hard to stop." "I'm sure," I said. I told him about the harassment, the calls to my office, the prayer chain. He sighed. "I've seen it before. It's ugly. But this is next level." I signed my name on the line. Then I signed the subrogation request, formally giving his company the right to pursue Lorelei for the $41,600. "I also have this," I said, placing the USB drive on his desk. "It's security footage from my parents' neighbor. It has audio of me refusing permission and video of Lorelei stealing the car moments later." Connor's eyes widened. That's a smoking gun, Brianna. A case like this, with family, can get messy. They'll claim you gave verbal permission and changed your mind. But this makes it airtight. Can I take it?" "Actually," I said, feeling a flicker of caution, "I'd rather upload it to the secure claims portal myself from home, just so I have a copy. I'll do it tonight." "Understood," he said, nodding. "Upload it as soon as you can. But frankly, with your recorded statement and the police report, we were already moving forward. This just guarantees they won't have a leg to stand on." I left his office feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Powerful. That evening, I was summoned to my parents' house. The text from Mom was ominous. "We are having a family dinner to sort this out. 7 p.m. Do not be late." I walked in to find the dining room table set with the good china and crystal. A peacemaking dinner. It was an ambush. They were all there. David, Madeline, and Lorelei. Lorelei, for her part, had her eyes downcast, her expression one of practiced, suffering contrition. We sat. Mom brought out a roast chicken. Dad poured wine. The silence was deafening. Finally, Lorelei cleared her throat. "Brianna," she said, her voice small and breathy, I'm sorry you're so upset about the car. I know it meant a lot to you." The non-apology. Not, "I'm sorry I stole your property." Not, "I'm sorry I destroyed something you worked 4 years for." But, "I'm sorry you're upset." I didn't say a word. I reached into my purse, pulled out a simple manila envelope, and slid it across the polished wood table until it stopped in front of her plate. "What's this?" she asked, her confused little girl act still in place. "Open it," I said. She did. Her eyes scanned the first page. It was the official police report. Her expression faltered. She flipped to the next page. The damage estimate for $41,600. Her face went pale. "What is this, Brianna?" Dad demanded, snatching the papers from her hand. He read through them, his face darkening with every line. When he got to the total, his jaw clenched. "What have you done?" he whispered, his voice shaking with rage. "I'm holding her accountable," I said, my voice quiet but steady. "You filed against your sister." Mom's voice was a high-pitched squeak of disbelief. "Your own blood?" "The insurance company is pursuing her for the damages, yes," I said. "This isn't about family feelings anymore. It's about legal and financial responsibility. We raised you better than this." Dad slammed his hand on the table, making the crystal glasses jump. "Family protects family." "That protection only ever went one way," I said, standing up. "She takes, I give. She breaks, I fix. That ends today." I left them sitting there, staring at the $41,600 bill on the table. The next day, my apartment buzzer rang. I checked the camera. It was my father, standing alone, holding a small bouquet of grocery store flowers. My stomach twisted. I buzzed him in, my guard up. "Brianna," he said when I opened the door. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him, his shoulders slumped. He held out the flowers. Can I come in? Please, your mother is out of control. We need to talk." Reluctantly, I stepped aside. He walked into my living room, looking around. "This is a nice place. You've done well for yourself." "What do you want, Dad?" "I wanted to apologize," he said, sitting on my couch. "Last night, it got out of hand. Your mother and I, we've enabled Lorelei. We know that. It's just, she's your sister. It's hard to see her in trouble." I stared at him, skeptical. This was a side of him I had never seen. "I'm not asking you to change your mind," he said, holding up his hands. I don't want to lose my daughter. Both of my daughters." He rubbed his face, looking exhausted. Could I trouble you for a glass of water? My mouth is dry." A tiny flicker of the old me, the caretaker, sparked. "Of course." I went to the kitchen. I ran the tap, my back to him. I heard him cough. I filled the glass, grabbed a paper towel to use as a coaster. The entire process took maybe 30 seconds. I turned around. He was standing right behind me, making me jump. "Oh, sorry, didn't mean to startle you." He took the glass. "Thank you, Brianna. This means a lot. I'll talk to your mother. I'll try to get her to see reason." He drank the water, set the glass down, and walked to the door. "You take care of yourself." He left. I stood in my living room for a long time, the flowers still on the coffee table. It was the most manipulative, insincere performance of his life, and I knew, with a sickening certainty, that he hadn't been there to apologize. That evening, I sat down at my laptop, ready to finally upload the video. I plugged in the USB drive. I opened the file folder. It was empty. My breath hitched. No. I pulled the drive out and plugged it back in. Still empty. "The water," I whispered. "The glass of water." I ran to my laptop, which had been sitting on the end table next to the couch. I checked my desktop. The file was gone. I checked my downloads folder. Gone. I opened my trash bin. Empty. He had come to my apartment under the false pretense of an apology, and in the 30 seconds I was in the kitchen, he had accessed my laptop, dragged the video file from the USB and my hard drive to the trash, and then emptied the trash. He had destroyed my only copy. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my phone and dialed Mrs. Wallace. Mrs. Wallace, it's Brianna. The video file. It's gone. My father. He deleted it. Do you still have the original on your system? Oh, Brianna, no. Her voice was full of distress. It's a 24-hour loop system. It overwrites every night at midnight to save space. I gave you the only copy I had. It's gone. I'm so sorry. I hung up the phone. The silver bullet was gone. My perfect airtight case was gone. He had sabotaged me, my own father. I sat there in the dark, the rage building in my chest until it was a cold, hard, solid thing. They hadn't just crossed a line. They had firebombed it. 2 days later, I was at my desk, trying to concentrate on a client's quarterly report. The silence of the accounting department was broken only by the click of keyboards and the hum of the HVAC system. Suddenly, the glass doors to our suite burst open. Where is she? Where is Brianna Marlowe? I froze. Every head in the office snapped up. It was Lorelei. Her hair was a mess, her eyes wild. She looked completely unhinged. Lorelei, I hissed, standing up. You can't be in here. This is my office. I don't care, she shrieked, marching toward my cubicle. My colleagues stared, their eyes wide. You have to call them off. You have to tell them to stop. They're sending letters. They're calling me. They're going to ruin my credit. She slammed her hands down on my desk, scattering my papers. You're my sister. You're supposed to protect me. You are destroying my life. My boss, Mr. Pierce, was halfway out of his office, his phone in his hand, ready to call security. My face was burning with a humiliation so profound I thought I might be sick. That's enough. The voice was cold, sharp, and cut through Lorelei's tirade like a surgeon's scalpel. It wasn't Mr. Pierce. It was Josephine. Josephine was a senior manager from the audit division. She was a tall, impeccably dressed woman who I'd always found terrifying. We'd worked in the same office for 3 years, and I don't think we'd ever exchanged more than a stiff hello in the elevator. She walked calmly from her office to my cubicle, her heels clicking decisively on the floor. She didn't look at me. She didn't look at my stunned coworkers. She fixed Lorelei with a gaze so icy it was a wonder my sister didn't freeze solid. You need to leave, Josephine said. It wasn't a request. Who the hell are you? Lorelei sputtered. I am the person who is 2 seconds from calling the police and having you arrested for trespassing and harassment, Josephine replied, her voice never rising. This is a private place of business. Your personal dispute does not belong here. You will turn around, you will walk out those glass doors, and you will not come back. Am I clear? Lorelei, for the first time in her life, seemed to be at a complete loss for words. She looked from Josephine's steel-hard face to me, as if looking for help. Go, Lorelei, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Get out. Josephine took 1 step toward her. Lorelei flinched, then turned and fled, nearly tripping over her own feet as she burst back through the glass doors. The office was dead silent. Josephine looked at Mr. Pierce. I'll handle this. She then looked at me. My office, 5 minutes. I walked into Josephine's office, my hands still shaking. She closed the door and gestured to a chair. Sit, she said. She sat behind her desk and folded her hands. That was your sister? Yes, I mumbled. I am so sorry, Josephine. Don't apologize, she cut me off. I have a cousin. His name is Philip. He's a financial vampire. Last year, he forged my aunt's signature on a loan application and nearly cost her her house. I know the type. I stared at her, stunned. She leaned forward. You're in a war, Brianna, whether you want to be or not. And right now, you are losing because you are fighting with honor against people who have none. Your sister and your parents are a unit. They are counting on your exhaustion. They are counting on your sense of family. They will use it to bleed you dry. What do I do? I asked. You stop being a victim and you start being a strategist, she said, her voice sharp. From this moment on, you document everything. Every text, every voicemail, every email. You never ever meet them alone. You never ever take a phone call from them. Text and email only. You need a paper trail. She grabbed a legal pad. Buy a digital voice recorder. Keep it in your pocket. If they ambush you, you press record. Get a new bank account at a different bank. Get a post office box for your mail. Assume they will try to access your finances, your mail, and your home. She ripped the page off and handed it to me. They drew first blood. Your only job now is to protect yourself. The humiliation they'll feel when they face consequences is their problem, not yours. Do you understand me? I looked at the list. This wasn't just advice. This was a battle plan. Yes, I said, my voice stronger. Yes, I understand. Good, she said. Now go take the rest of the day off, and don't come back tomorrow until you're ready to focus. I'll handle Mr. Pierce. I walked out of her office armed and, for the first time, not alone. The summons came 3 weeks later, a text from Dad. Family meeting, Sunday, 2 p.m. Everyone will be here. This ends today. I was ready. I arrived at my parents' house at 2:05 p.m. I wasn't alone. Rebecca, thanks for coming, I said, gripping the strap of my purse. Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss this for the world, my friend said, her face set. Remember, we have a dinner reservation at 3 p.m. You have a hard out. I nodded. I reached into my pocket, my fingers brushing the small, cold rectangle of the digital voice recorder Josephine had insisted I buy. I pressed the on button. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Her smile was tight, a rictus of strained hospitality. Brianna, honey. Her eyes flicked to Rebecca and her smile vanished. I didn't realize you were bringing a guest. This is Rebecca, I said, stepping past her into the house. She's here as my support. You have yours, I have mine. The living room was arranged like a courtroom. Dad sat in his recliner, the judge's seat. Aunt Penelope and Uncle Felix, the jury, sat rigidly on the sofa, their faces a match set of disapproval. What is this, Brianna? Dad demanded, gesturing to Rebecca. This is a private family matter. We're past that, I said. I took the voice recorder from my pocket and placed it squarely in the center of the coffee table. The small red recording light blinked steadily. This is for my protection. Protection? Mom's voice was a scandalized squeak. From your family? Yes, I said simply. I sat in the armchair opposite them. Rebecca sat beside me, her posture erect, her expression neutral. The front door opened and Lorelei shuffled in 30 minutes late. Her eyes were puffy and rimmed with red, a masterpiece of performed suffering. I've been put on administrative leave, she announced to the room, her voice trembling. She collapsed dramatically onto the couch. They said the insurance investigation and the police report make me a liability. They're probably going to fire me. Mom rushed to her side, stroking her hair. Dad's jaw clenched. He pointed a finger at me. I hope you're satisfied. The old Brianna would have shattered. The new Brianna leaned forward. Lorelei, I said, my voice calm. I have a few questions. Did I give you permission to drive my car? You're recording this? She snapped, her victimhood momentarily forgotten. Answer the question, please. For the record, she looked to our parents for a rescue, but they were staring at the blinking red light. No, she muttered. Louder, please. No, she snapped. But you always say no. You're so uptight. So you admit you deliberately took my keys and my car without my permission. That's enough, Dad roared. He reached under the coffee table and slapped a manila folder down. We've prepared a solution, a way for you to fix the mess you've made. He slid a document toward me. It was a settlement agreement. Lorelei's messy signature was already at the bottom. $5,000, Dad explained, tapping the paper. She'll get a loan, and she'll pay you $5,000 to cover your deductible. You call the insurance company, tell them it was all a misunderstanding, and you drop the claim. And we put this whole ugly business behind us. I scanned the pages. The waiver of liability nearly jumped off the page, a complete and total release of all claims against Lorelei. "This isn't nearly enough," Rebecca murmured, reading over my shoulder. "We raised you better than this, Brianna," Mom said, her voice syrupy sweet. "Family doesn't do this to family." "After all we've done for you," Aunt Penelope chimed in, "who sat with you in the ER for 6 hours when you broke your ankle? Your mother." "Your mother thinks you're having some mental health issues," Uncle Felix added, clearing his throat. "This fixation on punishing your sister. It's not healthy." The full court press. Guilt. Obligation. Gaslighting. I closed the folder. "I appreciate the offer, but I'm declining." "Decline?" Dad sputtered. "The insurance company has already started subrogation. It's out of my hands now." "That's nonsense," he snapped. "You can stop this any time." "Actually, she can't," Rebecca interjected, her voice professional and sharp. Every eye snapped to her. "Once subrogation begins, the insurance company has a legal right to recover their losses. It's their money now, not Brianna's. She can't call it off any more than you can." Dad's face went purple. He stared at Rebecca, this stranger who had just dismantled his authority. He turned back to me. "If you go through with this," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "I'm cutting you out of the will, everything. Is that what you want?" "The ultimate weapon." I met his gaze. "That's your right, Dad, just as this is mine." "They're garnishing my wages," Lorelei suddenly shrieked, lurching to her feet. Mascara, real or not, streamed down her cheeks. "Do you understand? They're taking my pay. I can't afford my apartment. I'm going to be homeless." "Fix this, Brianna," Mom demanded, jabbing a finger at me. "Call them tomorrow and make it stop." "The process takes months, Lorelei," I said calmly. "The insurance company sends multiple certified letters. They have to file a lawsuit, win a judgment in court, and then file for garnishment. They don't just start. You've always been jealous of me," Mom hissed, falling back on the oldest, tiredest script. "Mrs. Marlowe," Rebecca said, her voice cutting through the rising hysteria. "Wage garnishment requires a court order. If Lorelei has already reached that stage, it means she's ignored numerous legal notices, a formal court summons, and a default judgment. This isn't Brianna's doing. This is the consequence of Lorelei's failure to respond to the legal system." A stunned, dead silence fell over the room. They all stared at Rebecca. They had come prepared for a fight with me, the emotional daughter. They had not come prepared for a fight with her, the calm, informed adult. They stared at each other, the realization dawning that their usual tactics weren't working. I had come prepared. Weeks passed. The phone calls stopped. The family chat went silent. The war had become a cold one. Then a pounding at my door. It was 10:30 on a Monday night. I looked through the peephole. It was Lorelei huddled against the doorframe, her face streaked with mascara. She looked broken. I inhaled, counting to 5. Against my better judgment, I opened the door, but I left the security chain engaged. A 3-inch boundary of steel. "Brianna, please," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I know you're home. Please, I've been sleeping in my car. I got evicted. I didn't know where else to go." The declaration hung in the air, a perfectly crafted guilt bomb. The old Brianna would have unhooked the chain in a heartbeat. "Why are you here, Lorelei?" She held up a weathered photo album from our childhood. I found this at Mom and Dad's. Remember? Before all this car stuff came between us." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. A text from Mother. "She's your sister Brianna. She's homeless. She's sleeping in her car. The least you can do is talk to her." Don't be so cruel." The choreography of it was almost impressive. The 1-2 punch. "Please," Lorelei whimpered. "It's cold out here. Can I just come in? For a minute?" I closed the door, unhooked the chain, and stepped back. She slid past me, immediately claiming my couch, spreading the photo album open on the coffee table. "Remember this?" She pointed to a faded picture of us at the Grand Canyon, all gaps and pigtails. We were so close. My phone buzzed again. A call. "Father." I declined it. "Dad too?" I asked. Lorelei shrugged, suddenly fascinated by a loose thread on my couch. They're worried about you, about what's happened to you. Father Matthews called me yesterday. He said you should come to confession. He says forgiveness is divine." "You got the church involved? Again?" "Mom's blood pressure is through the roof from all this stress," she said, a tear appearing with perfect timing. "She had to go on new medication." "You're making her sick, Brianna." I walked to my kitchen, my back to her. I poured a glass of water, my hand steady. I felt the weight of their combined expectations, the full force of the family machine trying to drag me back. My laptop was on the kitchen counter. I opened it, my hand still holding the water. I navigated to Lorelei's Instagram profile. There it was, posted 3 days ago, a series of photos. Lorelei at a rooftop bar holding a pink cocktail, laughing with a group of friends. The location tag was for the Altitude, a luxury hotel downtown. "This doesn't look like someone who's living in their car," I said, turning the laptop screen toward her. She barely glanced at it. That was before. That was before everything fell apart. "The timestamp says Sunday, Lorelei. That was 3 days ago." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. "Hey, weirdest thing. Ran into your mom at the spa yesterday. She said she was treating poor Lorelei to a stress relief day. Just thought you should know. Stay strong." I held the phone up, letting Lorelei read the text. The Vulnerability Act evaporated. Her face hardened, the tears vanishing as if they'd never existed. The mask dropped. "So what?" she snapped, her voice turning mean. "So what if she did? I deserve some relief after what you've put me through." I picked up my phone. I held her gaze as I dialed Connor Brennan. I put the call on speaker. "Brianna!" His voice was professional. "Everything okay?" "Hi, Connor. Quick question for you. Has Lorelei Marlowe or anyone on her behalf made any contact with your office to set up a payment arrangement?" "Let me check," he said. I heard typing. "No, nothing. We've sent 3 certified notices to her last known address, all of which were received. The next step is formal collections, and the judgment will be filed with all 3 credit bureaus." "Thank you, Connor. I appreciate the update." I hung up. Lorelei stood up, kicking the photo album off the table. It splayed open on the floor, pictures of our fake childhood smiling up at us. "You're really going to do this?" she snarled. "You're going to ruin my life. Over a stupid car?" I walked to my front door. I opened it wide. "It was never about the car, Lorelei, and you know it. Get out." "You can't do this," she shrieked, her face contorting with rage. "I'm your sister. I'm family." "That's exactly why I have to," I said. "You need to leave. Now." She stared at me, her chest heaving. She was looking for the crack, the tiny sign of weakness, the old Brianna she could manipulate. She found nothing. She let out a sound of pure disgust, grabbed her purse, and stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off my wall. I didn't flinch. I just locked the deadbolt. The insurance settlement check deposited into my account the next day. It was enough for another brand new Sutton Apex with money to spare. Instead, I went to a certified used car lot. I spent an hour test driving. I bought a 3-year-old Hyundai Accent in a modest dark green, practical, reliable. I paid for it in full, in cash. With the $15,000 left over from the settlement, I walked into a brokerage firm and opened my first investment account. Sitting in the clean, quiet interior of my new-to-me Honda, I sent one final text to Lorelei. I've moved on. The insurance company hasn't. This is between you and them now. Do not contact me again. I blocked her number. Then I blocked my parents' numbers. A week later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Ms. Marlowe, this is Robert Prescott, Lorelei's supervisor at her firm. Yes, I said, my stomach tightening. I'm calling to inform you that we've terminated her employment. Your sister's public outburst in your office was the final straw. But our internal investigation found she had also been falsifying expense reports. The unauthorized use claim on her background check was simply the catalyst. I'm sorry it involved you. I understand, I said. Thank you for letting me know. The ripples spread. Aunt Penelope called me. Brianna, dear, she said, her voice small. I wanted to apologize. Your uncle and we only heard your mother's side of the story. Since all this, we've learned some things. I'm just so sorry we judged you. I accepted her apology. The pressure was gone. The machine had been broken. 3 months later, she appeared at my door one last time. No tears, no performance. She looked tired, sober, and thin. I opened the door, chain off, but I stood in the doorway blocking her entrance. I can't pay it, she said simply. They got a judgment. They're garnishing my wages for years. I can't live like this. That's the consequence of your choices, Lorelei. Her eyes, so much like mine, searched my face. Can't you just forgive me? Please? We're family. The question hung between us, and for the first time I saw her clearly, not as a monster, but as a broken person, ruined by the very enabling system that was supposed to protect her, a system I had held up for far too long. I do forgive you, I said, and I was surprised to find that I meant it. I'm not angry anymore. I forgive you for all of it. Her face lit up with a flicker of hope. But forgiveness, I continued, doesn't erase consequences. You have to pay this. You have to fix this. I can't do it for you. Her hope died. She just nodded, resignation settling on her like a shroud. Goodbye, Lorelei. I closed the door gently. The soft click of the latch was more final than any slam could ever be. 6 months later, I was in a new apartment in a different part of the city. It cost less than my old one, a deliberate choice. The extra money went straight into my investment account, a silent guardian against future storms. I'd been promoted. My energy, no longer drained by the black hole of family drama, was poured into my work, and Mr. Pierce had noticed. I was in therapy. Every Tuesday, I sat with a professional and unraveled 30 years of conditioning, learning to separate helping from enabling. I spent my first Thanksgiving with Rebecca's family, a loud, chaotic, wonderful group who argued about politics and football, and then passed the potatoes without anyone storming off or demanding an apology. It was a revelation. My phone buzzed. A cousin. I let it ring, then called her back when I was ready. "Your parents are asking if you're coming to the wedding," she said after the pleasantries. That familiar, guilt-laced undertone. "I've already sent a gift," I replied, my voice steady. "I wish them well." A long, uncomfortable silence stretched. The old Brianna would have rushed to fill it. The new Brianna just waited. "Well," my cousin finally said, "Lydia's still complaining about the payments. It's really hard on her." "That was her choice, not mine," I said, tapping my pen on my desk. "How's your new job?" The subject changed. The guilt didn't land. It had nowhere to stick. Josephine stopped by my desk with a coffee. We become friends, bonded by our shared experiences. "My cousin Philip called," she sighed, "wants me to co-sign on an apartment." "What did you say?" I asked. I said no. Just no. I didn't justify. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. He hung up on me. She smiled. It felt great. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. It was from my parents. They had sold the family home and moved into a condo. I didn't feel the usual spike of dread. I opened it. It was a long, rambling request for reconciliation. It was filled with all the old phrases. Water under the bridge. Let bygones be bygones. Family always comes first. It was a demand for my surrender, dressed up as an olive branch. They still didn't get it. They still believed I was the one who needed to change. I wrote a short, clear response. Reconciliation is possible, but it must be built on mutual respect, new boundaries, and professional family counseling. It is not about pretending nothing happened. I put the letter in my desk drawer. I didn't send it. Maybe I would someday. Maybe I wouldn't. The urgency, the desperate need for their approval was gone. That evening, I drove my Hyundai up a mountain road, the windows down, the crisp Colorado air filling the car. I parked at an overlook, the sunset painting the entire sky in shades of violent, beautiful amber and rose. I stepped out of the car and breathed deep. My shoulders were relaxed, my spine was straight. The knot of tension that had lived between my shoulder blades for 3 decades was gone. For 30 years, I thought peace meant staying quiet. I thought forgiveness meant enabling. I thought my worth was measured by how much I could tolerate. I was wrong. Setting a boundary isn't an act of aggression, it's an act of self-preservation. Some people, I realized, can only begin to grow when you finally stop protecting them from the consequences of their own choices. The breeze was cold, but I didn't feel it. I just watched the view, which stretched out, endless and clear, in front of me. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.